Have you ever heard the voice of an Egyptian priest who died 3,000 years ago? How about the sound of Neanderthal music? Let's take a listen. Hey History Heroes! I'm Tempest, and I'm a public historian and museum interpretation expert, and today we're going to be talking about sounds that you'll never hear in person again, with only recordings and recreations as evidence of their auditory existence. Despite being dead for over 3,000 years, a mummy named Nesyamun has begun to speak. Nesyamun was a high-ranking priest and scribe at the Carnyx temple in Thebes, where he led rituals that involved both spoken and sung incantations. Sadly, scans reveal he suffered from gum disease, and his teeth were extremely worn, which likely caused him pain during his rituals. He also had arthritis and a parasitic worm, but his actual cause of death was likely from his tongue swelling due to disease or an allergic reaction. He was in his mid-50s when he died. But death didn't stop Nesyamun's incredible work ethic. Inscriptions on his coffin show that he asked for his soul to have eternal sustenance, so that he could address the gods as he had in life. And scientists, sympathetic to his wishes, decided to give him a voice once again. CT scans were taken of Nesyamun's throat and larynx, which were incredibly intact. Then, using the scans, a 3D printed tract of his throat and larynx was created to be used in a vocal track organ, which provides a user-controllable electronic sound source. This enabled scientists to produce a single synthesized vowel sound and offers exciting possibilities about recreating actual speech and singing. And on a more personal note, guys, this is an incredible leap forward for museum professionals like myself. Hearing this single vowel sound connects visitors to Nesyamun not as an artifact, but as a fellow human being who is speaking directly to you. The Carnyx was an ancient trumpet used by Celtic people from 200 BCE to 200 CE to intimidate enemies and for ritual purposes. The bell was highly decorative and created in the shape of an animal or mythological creature. One of the most significant Carnyxes ever found is the Deskford Carnyx. Dated from 80 to 200 CE, it was found in a peat bog in Deskford, Scotland in 1816 and is now on display at National Museum Scotland. It's more complete than most Carnyxes that have been unearthed, with fine details characteristic of the Scottish region where it was produced. It's made from bronze and brass, but would have also had a wooden tongue and enamel inserts. In the early 1990s, Dr. John Purser, a musicologist, put together a team with Fraser Hunter, an archaeologist, John Creed, a silversmith, and John Kenny, a trombonist, with the intention of recreating the Carnyx. The Deskford Carnyx itself is obviously helpful, but an equally important piece of the puzzle is Roman artifacts. The Romans were fascinated by the cultures of their enemies, and would produce propaganda coins and art showcasing those cultures as a sort of humble brag to their citizens about what strange and scary enemies they so bravely faced. In the Carnyx's case, the terrifying trumpet is featured on over 100 Roman coins and pieces of sculpture. After a period of intensive global research and careful metalworking, the first Carnyx to be produced in Scotland in over 2,000 years was created. And in 1993, the world finally got to hear this eerie instrument, thanks to John Kenny, who continues to play the Carnyx in concerts, films, and the Assassin's Creed Valhalla soundtrack. Here's a clip of him playing the replica. This next sound is equally as beautiful as it is horrifying. It's a recording of Alessandro Moreschi, the only castrato to be recorded as a soloist, because at the time of the recording, there is only a handful left alive. A castrato is a boy who usually at the age of 10 to 12, though sometimes as young as 7, had his testicles removed, though rarely a medical complication could also cause a natural castrato. There were multiple methods, such as removing the testes through a small incision or injuring them to cause them to atrophy, which ensured that puberty didn't affect the singing voices of young boys. The castrati phenomenon began in the 16th century in Italy, declined in the 18th century, and finally died out in the 19th century. Alessandro was born in 1858 and was either purposely castrated to retain his voice or possibly castrated as a treatment for a hernia. He rose to prominence as a teenager, performing a wide variety of music in private concerts throughout Rome. After a particularly difficult performance, he was invited to audition and succeeded at joining the Sistine Chapel Choir and was named the Angel of Rome. According to his great-granddaughter and a researcher, he lived with his nephew, a woman who was probably his lover, the woman's father, and a boy who was most likely his lover's young son, Giulio. Sadly, his lover and her father left Alessandro, but the young son was left behind. Though Alessandro could have turned him over to an orphanage, he raised him as his own, and on Giulio's headstone, Alessandro, who died in 1922, is named as his father. Now before we listen to this recording, I just want to clear up a few criticisms about Alessandro's voice in this recording. Alessandro recorded these in 1902 and 1904, which means the sound quality is horrendous, and there was no do-overs. Additionally, the styles of singing he used sound bad to us, but was actually a technique in his time. And it's important to keep in mind he was middle-aged, so his voice is weaker than it would have been in his prime. Nevertheless, the recording is still an incredible testament to his skill and an indispensably important piece of musical history. Now, let's enjoy! This is the now extinct Kaua'i'o'o, which were small birds that lived in the forest of the Hawaiian island of Kauaʻi and had loud flute-like calls. And the recording of one of the calls has a heartbreaking story. Natural causes like avian malaria and pox initially started to reduce their population, but the final nail in the coffin was human activity. Just like today, people letting their domestic cats outdoors were decimating the already dwindling population of native birds. Then came the habitat destruction, first due to sugarcane plantations in the 19th and 20th centuries, then due to the added strain of increased tourism on top of the land that had already been cleared by plantations. This, as well as the other natural and human factors, caused the birds to move to higher and higher elevations, which lacked the necessary cavities for them to build nests in. By the 1960s, there were 34 remaining. But by 1982, there was only one pair left. And after Hurricane Iwa, without any natural protection, the last female died. This left a single male Kaua'i'o'o alone in the world. For years, he tried to find his mate or any of his species, but they were all gone. The following recording was done in 1986 by Jim Jacoby for the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. It's a recording of the last Kaua'i'o'o, calling out to a mate that had already long died, tending to an empty nest that will never be filled. Even more tragically, his death marked not only the end of his species, but the entire scientific family Mohoidae, which had originated 15 to 20 million years ago. But now, every bird in that family is extinct. This final sound is highly controversial. Behold the Divje barbe flute, found in Slovenia in 1995. According to the National Museum of Slovenia, it's 60,000 years old and is the oldest musical instrument in the entire world. Crafted from the left thigh bone of a 1 to 2-year-old cave bear with 4 pierced holes, it's 10 to 20,000 years older than any other known flutes, which were made by Homo sapiens. But this flute was made by Neanderthals, and therein lies the controversy. Some researchers claim the flute was made accidentally, with various proposals suggesting a series of carnivores chewing on the bone, or simply a hyena scavenging the remains of the cave bear. However, Ivan Turk, who led the archaeological expedition that discovered the flute, experimented using casts of cave bear, wolf, and hyena skulls to pierce brown bear femurs and claimed it was not possible for carnivores to create the holes that are found on the flute. The National Museum of Slovenia proposes these tools were used to make it. However, there are also arguments that Neanderthals were not advanced enough to create the flute. But honestly, I have to wonder if as a younger public historian, my generation's changing attitudes towards Neanderthals will increase support for the flute. You see, in the past, archaeologists, historians, and researchers all perpetuated a theory that Neanderthals were big, dumb, primitive creatures. But that's not to say it was their fault. They didn't have the technology that we do today, and there wasn't as much evidence of Neanderthal culture found. But now, there is overwhelming evidence that Neanderthals had culture, such as artistic engravings, decorative object collection and creation, the utilization of fire, tool making, using medicine, and unique burials including grave goods. So was it really that far-fetched to say they were capable of creating a simplistic instrument? But there is one piece of the puzzle still missing. Could the flute actually be played? Musician Lubin Dimkarowski wanted to find out. So in collaboration with researchers, he recreated the flute as it would have been before it was damaged over time and found that it absolutely can be played. So history heroes, I'll let you take a listen and let me know in the comments below if you think this flute is fact or fable. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more hidden history, please subscribe to my channel, leave a like or comment, or if you want to leave a tip for my tea, there's a link down in the description below. Until next time, stay curious, history heroes.